Hi everyone, just showing you a quick build video of this acro craft for those of you who like to get a bit crazy. Modern technology has become pretty amazing. I think it's just great how we used to have awesome crafts in the previous days, like the warp quad. They're very fast and you have a lot of fun. Now you can get these sort of powers with a little craft. Here I've just soldered on my ESCs and my motors. This is quite simple and straightforward if you look at your Pico BLX wiring diagram. Just to save everybody some time and have to not listen to me blab on, I've done this already. So as you can see, pretty simple and straightforward. I use a balance connector for getting power because I think it's small enough, and this means your battery will not need to have a main discharge lead. This will save you about 2 grams or something, which is actually very efficient. This is what I mean. I just clip off the main discharge plugs and use it right there. Okay, so to build, like I said, it's just going to be really quick. You pop this in right here, and pretty much you put the ESCs flat against there and your build will be complete. Let's do it. I know many of you will be tempted to only put 2 of these nylon screws in to hold down the FC. This is a Pico BLX. I chose this one because it's a small one with actual mounting holes. It's quite a rigid frame already, but I designed it so that the mounting holes themselves could use the FC's fiberglass as well to reinforce the frame, just for extra safety. So you want to put 4 of these in for extra strength. So you align the ESC. So of course, if you're flying it this way, you just gotta check your motor rotation. Sorry, not motor rotation, FC orientation in flight controllers. Beta flight. Just have a look how it's rotated and configure it. This will get your USB accessible from the side. These are 3D printed threads, so be careful with them. It saves you weight without having to use extra nuts to 3D print it, the threads in there. But at the same time, while they work, if you get carried away with a metal screw, you can strip the plastic. You don't have to use a nylon screw this long. I just have them lying around. I just screw them in there, and once I finish the build, I clip the extra length off. I think the nylon screw you require is only about 4 or 6 mils of thread length. Here's an interesting tip. These ESCs, these tiny little ESCs right here, they weigh about bare bones, about 2 grams from experience. And if you take the heat shrink off and just wrap it with electrical tape, you can shave another 0.8 of a gram each ESC. Okay, don't get too carried away screwing it too tight. They work really well. They work more than well enough, and they're 3D printed, saves you weight. Okay, you might want to clip it beforehand. I have a side cutter, so I'll do that later on. No, it's too dangerous. I use a side cutter later, or you can just unscrew it, cut it, and then put it back in. Okay, so another wires here. For those of you watching on YouTube, I know sometimes I might talk very fast, so you can just put me on 1.5 times speed fast forward or 2x speed forward. I don't mind. When you screw these in, be very careful. double check the screw length. If it feels very tight, you might be going into the coils of the motor. Just be very careful. This goes with almost every build, any other people's products. These are M2 screws. Again, just check your screw length. And these motors are really small. You don't really need to over tighten these screws. You can put a bit of weak Loctite in there if you're concerned about them vibrating off. But the good thing about plastic is there's a little give in the material, and it also almost works like a spring to keep the tension, so it won't really vibrate off. Okay, so that's done. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with the wrap method. Okay, so I found my cuticle cutter. Just go in there and just go cut. You don't need to cut it so short, I guess. Every gram counts for me. Have fun with this craft. One of the testers I gave this frame to, he's doing a 4S and he's using two 2S 300 milliamp batteries. Actually, exactly the same as this battery. Putting two together, a connector here to put two of them in series to get some crazy acceleration. Okay, so here I recommend taking these heat shrink off. It will save you about 0.8 of a gram. And let's see how we can wrap this. So I need to protect these here. Interesting fact about wrapping electrical tape. Many of you know this already, but electrical tape, you can stretch them when you put them across your components, but on the final wrap, don't stretch them, otherwise they pull themselves apart. The final wrap, you just gotta slap it on easily so it actually stays. A lot of people have trouble having the electrical tapes stay and just think it's the fault of the electrical tape. It may be, but if you just let it rest on there gently on the last wrap, it stays really well. You can stretch it in the beginning, not later. The reason these little frames are getting so popular is they're rather tough, and a lot of people are intimidated at the parks by the bigger quads once you step up the performance. So these little crafts, I mean, when you do 4S at 300 milliamps on this little craft, it's got pretty much the 250 class sort of power. Gives you heaps of fun without having to scare anybody at the park. Okay. Now guess what's missing? The receiver. I almost forgot. You might be wondering how the battery is held on. It's done by this rubber band around here. So now you got yourself some awesome LiPo straps. Hope you guys enjoy the craft. There's a money back guarantee on these frames if you don't like them. If you're watching this video way in the future and something has changed, just pop us a question, ask if it's still on. But so far I don't see any changes happening. Enjoy. Noticed also of interest to you might be how heavy is the craft after it's built. So you can slap on your FPV gear onto this thing and ride around if you like. 48 grams.